because I have the. All right. So I'm calling the meeting to order at 1 minute after 7. And we will go to the agenda. And the first item on the agenda is the approval of the 1 June minutes. These were posted by Maria, or a link to them more precisely was posted by Maria. All of the minute notes now have been placed in the correct folder on the G drive in case anyone has a hankering to see, minutes from 2015. Um, Hopefully you've had a chance to review them. I looked at them. They look pretty good to me. Would somebody like to move to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes for 1 June 2025.
Excellent. And Mr. Blackwelder is going to second, right?
Second.
Excellent. Okay. And hearing no objection, those are approved. On to the chair report. So the North Carolina General Assembly long session ended, and we didn't get anything we wanted, really. We sort of got something we wanted in the sense that the ending of pistol permit requirement bill was passed by the House and the Senate, but it was probably vetoed by Josh Stein, and that's really not a big while that's a big state issue, it's not really a big issue for WakeLP. It's the odds of that veto being overcome are pretty slim because there were Republicans who voted against it in the House. So we did not get any action on electoral reform issues. We did not get any action. We got some action, but not sufficient action on the uh, con ending the con or rescinding the con law or system. Um, that bill did pass in the Senate. In fact, it even had a couple of Democrats vote for it, including Dan Blue of Wake County, but it did not pass or did not was not voted on. It didn't even get a vote in committee in the House, and so it's pretty much dead for this legislative session. Although it's theoretically possible, it could be folded into another bill in the short session. Um, that has happened in the past, but probably not overwhelming support for that in the House. Um, June events and meetups. Well, we had several meetups, and we didn't have any of our own events in June, but we did participate in a couple of Better Ballot NC events, which were pretty successful in terms of raising awareness for ranked choice voting. I actually canvassed at the No Kings event, which was, I think, the first weekend in June. And then either 1 or 2 weekends after that, Dee Watson and I canvassed along with 4 or 5 other people at the Pride event, which was also quite successful. Dee in particular I think she got 3 full pages of signatures. This is not for any kind of petition. It's just for folks that are interested in getting involved and helping make it happen. And the reaction in both places was very, very positive. I only got 1 page, but I did have the best single signee in that I found someone who actually participated in the Hendersonville in Henderson County test back 15 years ago and had a lot of insight on that. So it was great to get that contact. Then, with respect to the ad campaign, that has taken a little bit longer to get rolling than initially expected. I think Rob initially was thinking he would get it out before the 4th, but that hasn't happened. And at this point, he's not in any rush to get it out. I believe that we're going to have a 15-second and a 30-second slot to review. I mean, a spot recording of a spot to review this week. But I have not heard from him in a few days, so I don't know if that's for sure if that's still on track. That's the last that I'd heard from him. So that in which case it will, the earliest it would probably roll out would be the following week. That's where that stands. All right. Any questions on any of those items? Hearing none, let's move on to the treasurer report. Sean is not here, but he did post the information. If I remember correctly, it was like about 3,500 bucks we have in the bank, of which $1,000 is spoken for to the aforementioned iHeartRadio ad campaign. He did try to mail a check to the LPNC, and The post office screwed it up somehow and it came back. So that check hasn't been received by the LPNC yet, but we know that that will happen. So it's actually about 2,500 bucks in the bank in terms of real money. Anybody have any questions about where we are finance wise?
Um, let's see, am I unmuted? Yeah. Just curious, what are we looking at roughly for monthly? Like what's rolling in? What's pledged as monthly donor donations? Are we up at 400 a month, 300 a month,
Yeah,
roughly?
it's closer to 200-ish. And David B and I have a list of people to call. I've called a few of them, but I was concentrating on the recurring folks, just kind of checking in with them. We have not branched out to green fields yet. And I need to get David, you did receive the NDA that I emailed you finally, right? David B?
Yes, I just haven't had time to. I'll do it.
Okay. Yeah, you need to sign that so I can get you access to Nation Builder, which you'll need to make those calls. So not an emergency, but yeah, we definitely need to ratchet up the intensity on fundraising. I will not be doing that until after I file all of the North Carolina State General Assembly financial reports, which are due, I think, on the 25th of this month. I hope to get them done before then. I've
And
got
Raleigh can do better.
and Raleigh, including Raleigh can do better. That's correct. Yes, well, which kind of rolls into the next topic, which is where we are on those things. So I'm actually ahead of where I was 2 years ago, the comparable, 2023 event, mid-year reports. So that's good. I have discovered a few disturbances in the force. Most notably, the committee to elect Dee Watson did not file a end of the year report. And I haven't been able to get in touch with Dee, so I'm not really sure what's going on with that. I have to pursue that. Because the last office that she ran for was lieutenant governor, which is a statewide office, the fee or the penalty schedule is significantly higher than it is for North Carolina General Assembly or local office. And so I think the committee at the moment is facing assessed fines of over $12,000. So that clearly needs some
Have you sent
attention.
an email that includes that in the subject line? Because I feel like I would respond if I saw that one.
Mm, they, that's not the way they work.
No,
If
no, I
you
mean
get
to
an email.
D, to get D's
Oh, to D.
attention.
Ah, right.
Have you
Yes,
sent an email that is just blunt, direct, and clear and to the point
yeah.
that says North Carolina General, the
Well, I have
NCO?
left her some pretty blunt and direct voicemails, but I guess it wouldn't hurt to send an email also.
Yeah, yeah, nobody checks voicemail.
Right. All right.
Not consistently. I would send an email that says NC State Board Election says you owe them $12,000. That would get me to react.
All right. Good
That
advice.
that very direct, clear message.
Thank you. I appreciate the
Yeah, no worries.
I appreciate the suggestion. It sounds good. I will affect that.
Who
All
who's
right.
who's her treasurer? Is that you or
Well, she's her treasurer. She's her own treasurer. I am assistant treasurer and theoretically backing her up, but I didn't get a call to I can't do the year-end report. Please help me out. So I just, I mean, to be honest with, I wasn't paying a lot of attention to her committee because she wasn't actually an active candidate. But the $12,000 did get my attention. So maybe it'll work with Dee as well. Um, okay, moving on. Future events. We do have our 16 July Certificate of Need event. Um, I'm pushing on all cylinders uh, to promote that with respect to posts on Twitter, I mean X, excuse me, posts on Facebook. We are still paying to push the event itself on Facebook. We've gotten some responses from that. However, as I think I've mentioned to one of you, Davids, at least, the RSVP level is sadly lacking in terms of past experience. We're running about a third of what we normally get in terms of RSVPs, which doesn't bode well for attendance. Um, there's anything either of you guys can do, if you're on Facebook and you want to make sure your friends are invited, anybody in North Carolina. I wouldn't invite anybody outside North Carolina. This is a pretty North Carolina specific topic, but anybody that's living in North Carolina in theory should be interested or could be interested in this topic. And they don't have to attend in person. They can they can see it online, either live or archived. So it's a perfectly legitimate thing to, especially if you have a, friend you haven't contacted in a while and you just want to ping them with something. This would be a civic-minded way to do that. Um, Bent towards justice discussion. That there's a Phil Jacobson has proposed doing a Bent Towards Justice themed event. Bent Towards Justice is a novel that was written by Steve Feldman. If you, David, I know, went to the convention, to the state convention, and saw Steve's book. He had a table there. It's been very well received. It's basically about a person who kind of gets pulled into the Palestinian-Israeli situation and ends up coming with a solution. So kind of like fantasy, but apparently pretty well written. I have not read it myself yet, but it's on my list. Anyway, he was going to talk it up if he came, but he's not here. So I'll just mention that that's a possibility, and hopefully we'll get him to come to our next meetup. Um, Risk management discussion is another potential event. And I think I've talked about this with both of you guys individually. Um, this is basically following up on my feeling that as libertarians, we have an obligation to raise this topic, which Democrats and Republicans are not going to raise, in terms of, how do you prepare for a currency collapse or whatever. A prospect that seems more likely or more likely to happen somewhat sooner rather than later, thanks to the big, beautiful bill and so on. And to that end, I'm kind of exploring potential speakers. And the first idea that I think, David, this was actually your idea, was to ask Mike Munger if he would potentially be interested in delving into that topic. What would the macro, thing look like? And I haven't been able to get in touch with him. So that's where that stands. So it this is not something that's going to happen next month. It requires some thought to pull it together. My basic thought is that our hook is what do local, how do we prepare for this locally, on the county and the municipal level? What kind of risk assessment and what kind of potential ameliorative actions should we be thinking about? Again, something that I don't think is going to be raised by anybody else besides us. Um,
As far as interesting topics that I would throw out that might have potentially more traction, especially when you consider NC State's right around the corner and the number of tech jobs in Raleigh. Um, I think AI, like just having a presentation on the impact of AI on tech jobs and the local economy, you would bring in some people perhaps that are almost apolitical. If you got one or two of the right speakers, you held off until September when school was back in session. That might be more interesting. I mean, I feel like that's
yeah, that's good.
happening now and in motion. It definitely will have an impact. Well, it is having an impact locally. So I feel like that one is almost less political, but interesting. And I don't know. I know there's groups out there that are always talking about AI, but a lot of them are software oriented people who are in some ways happy about it. But I don't know how many events locally are happening where like, hey, this could be disruptive over the next 3 years,
Not
for
just
better or for worse.
Uber drivers. I mean,
Yeah.
in San
However you want to do
Francisco,
it,
I
but
was,
that might be less national than economic collapse,
mhm,
which,
mhm.
I mean, you and I both remember Ross Perot talking about that back a few years ago.
Giant sucking sound.
Yeah, so there's that, and then there's, other things are pretty polarizing, but I don't know if David Blackwelder wants to take, if not this instant, maybe chew on just a topic that we might have for an event in September. He may have other ideas as well. We can also float that out just broadly to the EC. So I would lean towards something that is not political but economic, and I think AI is one of those, but
Mhm.
I'm open to other ideas.
I think the AI is a good topic, and especially it's coming up more and more now, and especially we've seen all these loss of jobs due to potentially AI with software engineers and stuff. I think that's a really good one. Or I think due to crypto starting to pick back up, I think if we did like like a crypto event or something where maybe we can find somebody to come in and talk or something. But I think that would be big too. I think both of those would be really big, where we'd
Yeah.
get at least a lot of interest.
Yeah, no, the crypto, I agree with that one. We did something like that like 5 or 6 years ago, but I think now more than ever, and that's maybe a better way, Brad, to approach the debt
Yeah,
thing is like, hey, here's some asset classes that people are moving to because they have this larger concern, rather than saying, hey, we think the whole thing's going to the shitter in, a year or two or whatever we may think individually. That, you know, is crypto because it is interesting. I mean, to David's point, I see more and more uh financial advisors and other people who now include crypto, like, hey, if you're going to diversify, you can have your stocks, your bonds, and if you can do real estate, but if that's too much for you, you could always put 10% in crypto, which I don't think 5 years ago you had many
right.
financial advisors saying, hey, crypto's an actual, although higher risk, potentially is certainly a viable asset class for you to put some of your retirement savings in. And I think that's just wild that that's made that shift
Bitcoin
so
was
quickly.
publicly traded for the first time in sometime in 1992. I can't remember exactly when. I want to say April. And if someone had purchased $10,000 worth of Bitcoin in 92, it would be worth somewhere between $2 and $3 billion today.
Yep. Well, um, I missed that boat, but
Yeah, me too.
who knows?
Although it would have been reasonable for either one of us to put, maybe $1,000 even into it, right? We've been thinking a little
Possibly. But
harder.
anyway, you've got two topics from one from each, David, for September, and I think we have enough time for you to
Right. I will say
socialize
with
those.
respect to the risk management approach is that I'm thinking in terms of how what do you do as opposed to, fulminating on the federal collapse, but
For individuals or
individuals and government, right? I mean, like how do you meet payroll if the dollar's, sunk? That applies to both businesses and to state entities. Obviously, for individuals, we had talked about the possibility maybe, getting a Brian Biederman investment advisor person to come in and talk about what he's doing with his clients.
eh,
Uh,
maybe, I
yeah.
don't know. A briefing on how to prepare for the Weimar Republic doesn't really sound like that's going to bring in the kind of general interest. But that's just me.
All the guys selling wheelbarrows will probably come in.
Yeah.
All
Anyway,
Right.
we
Let's move
could talk
on.
about the gold standard too.
Yeah, that's not a, that's not a local issue, unless you're talking about doing a Wake County currency.
Well, I know. I'm just saying we could. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah. All right, on to new business. So there's a new homepage. If you guys go to wakelp.org, you won't see the news page anymore. Well, I mean, you will if you click on news, but it's not the default that comes up. We have a new welcome page. It's basically the same one that I posted on Mattermost 3 or so weeks back. So if you looked at that, you won't see much different. Um, and this was kind of a prereq for the iHeart radio spots. We wanted to have a landing page that was a little bit more coherent for somebody coming in that may or may not be, hip to libertarian stuff. So there's like a video that talks a little bit about from 50,000 feet what libertarianism is all about, and then a little explanation of all of the content of our website. So any comments or, suggestions that we can easily upgrade it or change it or whatever? I would actually like to replace the videos that's there with a similar video, but have somebody besides me do it, like somebody that would be more female and younger, ideally. So I will talk to Courtney and Maria about that. Um, Local elections candidate recruiting. Double check and make sure there's nobody in the waiting room that I haven't been paying attention to. Nope, nobody's in the waiting room. So Angela Humphreys is on the EC for the LPNC, and they are very active in trying to recruit candidates to run for municipal and county elections, which are the filing period is currently open. I think it runs through the end of this week. Um, so anyway, she pinged me and said, what are you guys doing in Wake? And I told her that, our experience is that generally speaking, the bar for local and municipal candidates, local and county candidates, that is significantly higher than it is for a candidate running for North Carolina General Assembly or federal office, in the sense that, any throw a dart at the list of registered libertarians, and anybody you hit is likely to be able to pull off running for federal office in the sense that they're going to know the issues. And with respect to the state, if you just bone somebody up on education, the economy from the point of view of the state, and uh, I don't know what's the third one, whatever the third one is. There's like three issues that people pay attention to. You bone them up on those three issues, and they're pretty much good to go. I mean, there'll be stuff come up that they won't know, but for the most part, those are the three issues they should be talking about. But with local issues, or with local races rather, you really need to know the detail of, zoning regulations and what's going on with water and what's going on with transportation, and you also need to know the players, and to have any credibility as a candidate, it'd be good if they knew you and knew of you as someone who was serious and knowledgeable. And her suggestion of just calling up registered libertarians to see if we can get somebody to run for office is not something that is likely to yield that kind of a candidate. So that was my answer to her. But anyway, she wanted to run her idea by us, but she couldn't make the meeting. So I'm just mentioning that. I think the state has had some success in some other counties with this approach. I don't know for sure. I haven't actually seen who signed up and who hasn't, but I know that they've been making some calls. Um, I don't know. What do you guys think about that? That's been our experience up to now. Should we change course and focus on recruiting local candidates as opposed to
Well, you have to
NC?
have people that are focused on local issues,
Yeah, my
right?
thought. Yeah, I agree with that. Um, so let's skip a couple of bullet points then and go to CACs, because this is something that's been on my radar screen for a while now, and I haven't really done too much about it. After July 25th, when I'm finished with the North Carolina General Assembly stuff, the two things that I do want to focus on uh, are both involved contacting our greater, 5,500 libertarians and friends of libertarians, like people that have voted in our primaries who are unaffiliated and so on, for A, fundraising, and B, to see if I can get folks to commit to getting involved with their local citizen advisory councils and/or, city council. Just as somebody that attends those meetings and pays attention and potentially, if they're forward enough, can present or promote the libertarian perspective as appropriate, but at least gather intelligence and learn what's what and who's who and so on and so forth, so that we have
Yeah.
a body of
I know in Raleigh they're getting ready to put out an RFP and getting a consultant to work on whatever this new thing is that they're going to try these what do they call them? Civic assemblies.
yeah,
Where they
I saw
so
that.
we'll see how that goes. But um, I mean, how they get involved, Brad, the bottom line is if you're going to run a candidate in Raleigh, they almost have to step forward and come find you. And it's nonpartisan, so I would always be fine with somebody who's not registered libertarian, who's just libertarian in their approach, so to
Yes,
speak.
absolutely.
So like if a Jen Truman were to run again for anything for Raleigh City Council, obviously I'd be a big fan of her. But
Yep.
this is where again, my take, having been around libertarians now for a while on local issues, if there's not an eminent domain thing that they can understand and had it, that's something they've had explained to them before, and so they understand it. It makes sense. It's easy to run on that. Everything else is just too much. Like it just doesn't seem that people track um, economic policy correctly at the local level. Sometimes they just don't follow where money comes from and where it goes to. And it's funny because it's actually much more accessible at the local level and easier to understand.
Right.
But
Not to mention influence. Well, basically, my vision is, if we can, I mean, I agree with you with everything you're saying. My thought is that we need to be doing this in Garner and in Wake Forest and in Zebulon and so on. And I don't think, we're going to cover all the cities in Wake County in a year, but if we could get, let's say, 4 or 5 people to commit in various communities,
You got one. Let's be honest. If you got one in any of those cities you just listed, that would be enough for us to get behind with the limited resources we have to try to help, especially if it was a smaller town like a Wake Forest, like a Zebulon.
right.
Uh,
And this person doesn't
but
even necessarily need to be somebody that would run. If they gathered that information, that would be helpful to somebody else who's more, outgoing. If that, so we don't necessarily need to be looking for candidates. We just need to be looking for people who are committed to getting involved in their local communities in a meaningful way, and collecting that mind, that information. And if we could get, let's say 2 or 3 of these people in different places. One thing that would be useful would be for you to sit down with these guys and run them through
but I
your.
mean, do all these other cities actually operate anything resembling a CAC? Like I don't even think like I don't when you say that, I don't even know what
Every
Zebulon and Garner run.
municipality in Wake County has at least a few, they don't have CACs, but they have a few citizen advisory councils who are specific to a particular topic. So there might be one that's
So
relevant.
there's a board that's not a CAC. You're talking about a board
Correct.
that
A
this
citizen
okay.
advisory board would be a better way to call it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, those are ones
Although
where you get
sometimes
a
I do call them councils. It depends on the town.
well,
But anyway,
are
yes.
they appointed positions or are they just random people showing up? They're appointed positions.
They're appointed positions, but in most cases, they're, and if you're not talking about the alcohol board, those positions are open. Typically, there's open positions on those things. And of course, if you're interested in a particular topic and you can't be appointed, you still can show up. They're open meetings, so you don't actually have to be
Okay.
on the board to monitor them. Although that would be better, clearly.
Yeah,
So
Amy
anyway,
Howard did one of those years ago. You have to have the time and stuff and be able to get off
Amy
work
was
to
on one also, right?
I understand, yeah, I know. But I mean my point is those boards sometimes meet like during the middle of the day. So it's a
Right.
pain in the ass if you have a
It is.
job,
It
you
is.
know.
Yep. This is true. Yeah.
So
So anyway, that I am going to be spending some attention on trying to recruit for that because I think that in the long term is where we can be the most effective in terms of of local policy. Like you said, though, there are races that are winnable, and you know what? You don't even need to necessarily be elected to have influence on policy if you're knowledgeable and know where the bodies are buried. We don't have that knowledge now outside of Raleigh. We need to develop it. All right, so that's enough yakking for me on that topic. What did I miss? Oh, meetup attendance. Well, I've had this discussion with David you just mentioned to David B. The meetup attendance has been very sparse through the month of June. I don't think we had more than 5 people at any single meetup, and there was one meetup the first time in as long as I can remember that we had nobody show up. I was sick and I didn't even try to recruit somebody to cover because I didn't think anyone else was going to come. Um, and we've had, several meetings where there's just 2 or 3 people showing up. So
Did you want to make them like once a month or something?
I'm thinking about possibly decreasing the frequency of the meetings. I'm not going to do that until after the end of the summer to see what kind of how things develop. But it's on the radar screen, yes, of reducing the frequency. Another possibility might be to try doing some in other venues, maybe one in Cary, maybe one in Wake Forest, and seeing how that works out. So anyway, I wanted to put that bee in your bonnet and be thinking about ways to A, boost attendance, or B, some alternatives. Um, oh, trifold reprint. I didn't go price that. Okay, we're getting low on trifolds. We probably should reprint. I have to go and research how much it's going to cost, and I'll post that up on Mattermost. And
okay,
finally,
that should be you're just gonna use club flyers like we have in the past, right?
most likely, unless
Yeah, that should take
amazing.
about 10 minutes to price. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It won't take long. I meant to do it for tonight. I just slipped my mind. Okay, then the last thing is that once again, my travel plans are impacting a scheduled business meeting, namely the one in September, which would be on the 7th of September. I will be on an airplane coming back from, I can't remember whether it's Fort Lauderdale or Miami. So I'd like to push the meeting back to the 14th of September, and if that's okay with everybody. And I think I need to post it on Mattermost now because we don't have enough everybody's here to make that decision. So I'll do that too. It's okay with you guys if we do that?
Uh, that's an option. If we were thinking of doing an event later in September and stuff, maybe it makes sense to just have a later meeting in August that would encompass both of those,
That's
right?
possible.
I mean, unless you have stuff that you think, because this is already, we're meeting on July 13th, and you're
Right. Good point.
right. So maybe, let's see here. Let me grab a calendar. I mean, it's up to you. So when was our next one? It was supposed to be on 3 August. I don't know what new business we'll have by then. You could always just move it to 17 August or the 24th of August, right? And
Yeah.
just call that the August September meeting.
Okay.
And then if we need to have a shorter one
Yeah.
later in September for a specific issue,
All right. That sounds
but
good.
that way, if we decide to do something, I just don't know what we're going to have that's going to be new for 3 August.
Right.
Um, you know, we're going to have to go through this con event, see what the attendance is like, see what attendance is like through the meetups that we have, and then and that'll also then give you a chance to take a short break after doing all those finance reports, and then we'll kind of
Yeah. Sounds
see where
good.
we're at. So consider that. I think you could throw that in Mattermost, and we'd probably be better off just
Yeah.
bump in WakeLP meeting from the 3rd to the 17th or something and
Sounds good.
rolling through that.
All right. I like it. Old business. Welcome letters to T-Frog Party registrants. David B., this is your project here. Tell us where we are.
Well, I've been working on it this weekend. I guess you have too. And it looks like, we'll have, I'm on target to tonight have, it looks like all of the parties to where all we'll have left is I guess, We the People or whatever the large block of them. I believe it's We the People
No, no labels is the large
or
one.
no labels. Okay. That'll be the largest block. That'll be the only one we have left to do. Um, so I guess we'll just have to print off those and kind of do some more, or we can kind of put these out there and see what happens, and just kind of go from there. But it just depends on, I guess, materials, or if y'all just wanted to just do the paper, like a letter or what. So,
Right. Just to back up a little bit, the package consists that we're sending out consists of a letter from the chair, and the letters vary depending what party it is, emphasizing issues that are likely to appeal to, folks in that party or formerly in that party. All these people are now unaffiliated because they've been defrocked from being in their parties, which no longer technically exist in North Carolina, from an official perspective. And there's a huge imbalance in Wake County and also statewide in terms of the numbers, in the sense that there are approximately 50 such people in the Constitution Party, or were in the Constitution Party, approximately 90 in Justice for All, approximately 150 We the Peoples, and 3,400 people in the No Labels Party. So, what just to kind of reprise what or summarize what David was saying, we will have sent out letters to all the folks except for the no labels people, and we will be also sending out 200 to the new labels of the 3,400. And my thought is that's a lot of, you know, that's a huge thing to do the other 3,200. So I wanted to kind of get a sense of how we did with those 200. We may even do some follow-up phone calls just to gauge our impact there before we commit to doing the full 3,200. And David, you had an idea also for potentially economizing on that 3,200 with a different approach, right? The postcard idea?
yeah, so we could either send out a postcard, or if, we just did a letter. But, we could just do the postcard, and that way it's kind of a lot easier. Or if we just want to send those out, see where it goes. And then I'm thinking for our candidates, whenever we run some, unless we want to support some for local, but what we could do is for like next go around, create a postcard, like a longer one, I guess a letter size, like an envelope size with all the candidates on it, and send that out in certain areas. Send out like several thousand, next election cycle.
Right. That's a cool idea. Although it's not really related to our defrocked party registrant letters, but
Yeah, yeah, no, I know. I'm
the
just
same
saying.
tech, the
Yeah,
same
yeah, sorry,
concept.
sorry.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but yeah, with these, I think if we could either do a postcard, like just a generalized, join us for meetup, or just have some information. I kind of like the long one.
Right. If we
That
sent out a letter with just the letter and not the collateral material, that would be significantly less expensive. Not in postage, but in terms of we wouldn't have to. Each one of those trifolds is,
yeah,
several tens of cents, and the same thing with the door hanger, cut down door hanger. So,
yeah. If we want to, if we, I think if you just want to send the letter, it would be a lot more cost effective, especially for the remaining, and just that way we just send them something, and maybe
right. But
even
the
if
point
we get
is,
100 out of,
we'll make this decision once we've gotten some feedback from our first initial send of the 200 to the new label or to the no labels guys.
yeah.
All right. Anything else on that topic, David?
No, I think it's hopefully we get some good results. I mean, even if we get 10 people or 25 people, it's better than nothing. So
Okay, lobbying update. Neither Dee nor Matt are here, so we'll skip that topic for this meeting. Business meeting recordings. Maria reports that the recordings are now, I forget whether she said they were posted on YouTube or not. I should go check. But anyway, she's edited them all. The discussion, the sensitive discussion in that first meeting we had, it's been edited out. So they are ready to roll. Sexual harassment policy made no progress on that whatsoever. I've been stuck on my concern that the policy that we were looking at from the Mises Caucus people was, while good as far as it went, had no process for actually dealing with the situation. And have not really had any lightning strike me in terms of inspiration as to how to fix that. So my thinking at this point is that maybe we just go with something like that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start an active channel on Mattermost on this topic and give myself a deadline of the next meeting after September 1st, whether it's the 7th of September or the 1st of October or whatever, to have a proposal in place for folks to look at, which hopefully, folks will have vetted and had some feedback on if they're interested between now and then. So that's where that is. And that's all I got for old business. So I forgot to ask, anybody have any other new business?
No, I'll invest some brain cells into trying to think how to up meetup attendance, maybe. Not obviously this coming Wednesday is a big one, but just for the routine visits.
Yeah,
Um, and I would encourage us, whatever policy we discuss or put forward should be fairly broad. I'm not really big on the idea of consequences since we have neither the money or a legal team
right.
or an HR department
I've come around to
or
that point of view
any,
myself. I
any
agree with
of it.
you.
I'm just not, the court, there's a, if somebody is found guilty of something in court, we can disassociate ourselves
Right.
for that reason. If was convicted of doing something really, really nasty, then obviously, you know, we can adjust, but I don't think we need to get into the weeds in some way
Yeah.
that might get us in
We
trouble.
definitely
But
don't want to be
anyway,
spending cycles on this problem for sure. Cool.
alrighty,
All right. So no more new business. I think then someone, if
move
someone
to
would like to
adjourn.
make a motion to adjourn,
I did
and
move to adjourn.
Mr.
second.
Blackwelder will second. Great.
All in favor? Yay.
Super. Let's see, 41 minutes. Not bad. I'm not quite as good as Travis yet, but I'm getting there. All right, guys. Take
All right.
care and talk to you next month, if not before.
All right. See you on Wednesday.
Right.
See you
Bye-bye.
guys.
Bye.
Oh, wait.
What?
Yeah.
Angela Humphreys has entered the waiting room. I told her we'd be going till 8 o'clock, so. Greetings, Angela.
Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad. So I guess I'm a better chair at running meetings than I gave myself credit for. 'Cause we actually got through our entire agenda.
Oh
Um,
man, I was thinking I would miss you guys. It's
yeah,
okay. I
right.
missed you.
No, well, you almost did. We are actually adjourned now, but we'd still be happy to hear from you as to what the state party are doing with respect to recruiting candidates. Have you guys had any success in your cold calling libertarians in other places?
No, I'm desperate and I want to get some, on our books. I want some libertarians to brag about, but half the period has already gone by, so I don't want to wait anymore. I'm like, is there something we can do? So there's always something we can do. It's just always the same people doing the work. So um I know like previous strategies like mailing and I don't know if we're great at getting volunteers, but even if I took up the list and cold called people tomorrow, let's say after work, and like didn't find any candidates, let's say worst case scenario, I found nobody credible to run for office, I could at least still use that information and say, hey, well, we're looking for people to staff our state fair booth, or have you thought about working the polls? So it's not like a total dead end lost cause, but I can't stand around and just not do anything. So I thought you might be doing something, Brad, and then I thought maybe we could team up. So, but it might be too late. So I'm sorry.
Well, it is kind of late for this cycle.
Yes.
I'll tell you very briefly what our consensus here is we what we want to do. We do agree that local elections and local races are where it's at from the point of view of, from WakeLP, and I think probably from the point of view of the state as well, other affiliates, because those are races that are actually winnable, and maybe not so much in Wake County, certainly not in Raleigh, but in some of the smaller cities in Wake, and definitely in some of the other counties.
Hmm.
Having said that, because of that, I think we have more of an obligation from a party's point of view to make sure that for running people that they are really credible candidates. And
Hmm.
so our idea here is to try to get as many people. We have 300 people supposedly on our volunteer list in Wake County, and we're making a commitment to contact as many of those folks as we can to encourage them to get involved with their local city council or their citizen advisory boards. Almost every town in Wake, anyway, has at least two or three, and some of them have dozen or more different citizen advisory boards. In most of those cases, they're all appointed positions, but in most of those cases, there are openings, at least in some of them, and it's not very hard to get appointed if you're interested. Right? Well, I guess even if you're not interested in theory, but it would help to be interested. Um, or failing that, if you can't get on the board, but you're interested in their topic and whatever they're talking about, you can just go to their meetings. I mean, they're open meetings. So
Hmm.
we're going to try to grow mind share knowledge of what's happening in Zebulon and Garner and Morrisville and so on, um,
Okay.
that through that means. And maybe some of those folks will get the bug and want to run for office. Or if somebody else wants to run for office in their locality, at least there'll be a resource in terms of knowing, who's who and what's what, and what the issues should be, and help candidates to formulate um, responses to issues. So
That's great.
that's a
Yeah, you
long-term
guys are.
plan. It's not something that happens overnight. So, we're hoping to maybe by 2027 we'll have uh, the crop will yield some useful fruit. But it's not a 2025 solution.
So do you think anybody's gonna file for office? Circling back to filing, did you say maybe one
Possible.
person?
It's
Okay.
unlikely. I would say
Okay.
we've had about 10 years of experience here, and in all that time, we have had one unheralded, unknown libertarian run for office in Garner that we
Okay.
discovered kind of after he'd filed. So that's what.
We had Owen Watson give it at least two runs, right?
Oh, that's true. Olin ran for city council. That's right. Okay, so that's
Twice, yeah.
3 out of 10 years.
Yeah.
Um, so that's let's see, that's 5 tries, right? So
I'm just
so
wondering if
maybe a
there's any.
60% chance somebody will show up.
I'm wondering if there's any like
Oh no,
last
that's not a
ditch.
60%. Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh, wait, Angela, I'm sorry, what?
I'm just thinking, I'm just like kicking myself because I feel like a lot of people don't realize it's filing period until after the fact, and they're like, "Gosh, I wish I had known." And then I'm kicking myself too because I feel like there's always more we can do, but we can't. We have our lives to live and other things. But anyways, coming to the point of coming to the meeting was trying to say if there was, any hope out there, like if you knew a religious leader or someone maybe you sit down and think about tonight, maybe you can scratch that itch and
Well,
plant the seed in their mind and maybe follow back up with them by the end of the week before noon on Friday. But
and
yeah, not just anybody, of course. We don't want things that are going to make headlines, of course.
yeah, we had
Candidates
a
like that. Hopefully, everybody can pass background checks. Anything that's not going
but
to make the party look poorly in the
but
spotlight.
correct.
Um,
So correct me if I'm wrong, though, aren't most of these across the state nonpartisan? Like when you register your L, your D, your R doesn't show up, correct?
I feel like I'm getting. I don't know if that's accurate for my local. I thought I was getting information that said they were.
Well, I know
I don't know. You
the
might be right.
the parties themselves will endorse candidates, right? I mean, that's the problem now in Raleigh. Well, problem being your perspective, but we'll have people who are registered Republicans or Democrats run for what is a nonpartisan race, meaning the R or D doesn't show up next to your name on the ballot. So I
Yeah,
guess,
I think so, but in small towns like where I am, New Bern, I'm getting if you sign up for the Board of Elections notifications, you're getting notifications that hey, Brad Hessel, a libertarian, I believe it says the L beside his name. It's telling me exactly who has filed. So it's a very short list, obviously, and I'm looking for libertarians. So I thought maybe the affiliation is there,
Well,
but yes,
Angela, there
maybe.
will be cities that run nonpartisan races, in which case they may or may not on the list show you what their party is. You'd have to look them up to be sure. So
Yeah, that's fine. We still want to brag about them.
if you see a race where there's nobody's party is listed, then you need to look them up to see if they're probably
Sure.
not going to be libertarian, but
yeah,
it'd be worth looking them up to
yeah.
see.
And
Sure. And I
something
had
from the Board of Elections might include the party affiliation, whether they really need to or not.
Yeah, that's also true, right? It might not tell you whether it's a partisan race or not.
I guess
And
my
then I know we have created some sort of thing that tells us, like Ryan created something that compiles the data if we do get a registered libertarian filing for these offices, right? And he hadn't got, it's like all crickets on his end. So that was why I'm like, is there something we can do? So
I
sorry,
guess
panic lady.
my so my just general feedback, especially since think some of these are nonpartisan, another way to approach this might be in the future is finding candidates running, especially in smaller cities, who are running on one or two things that are libertarian leaning. And again, not just eminent domain, but anything that has, a libertarian feel to it, and then just supporting that candidate a little bit or reaching out to see if they want the support and help.
Sure.
I people who run for local offices are often nonpartisan anyway. They're people who were not doing anything
Hmm.
per se politically, and something happened in their local community that caused them to lose their mind. Um, and
Right.
that snowballs. David Cox in North Raleigh doesn't want a Publix. David Cox decides to run for city council. David Cox ruins most of North Raleigh for a solid 6 or 7 or 8 years. But point being is that's usually what gets somebody in a local race, right? Something
Sure.
happens in their community. They're not they're not always politically active people. They're not even always highly partisan. They're just pissed off about something, and so long as that aligns broadly with some values that we have, you can always sometimes, not always, sometimes it doesn't even make sense. You can get behind that person
Sure.
around
Yeah,
that
I'm
issue
aware of that.
because, yeah, so it might be interesting to see if there's anybody who knows anybody running in any of these races across the state where there's an interesting issue or a libertarian issue. So even if we don't get a candidate, maybe in a month and a half, we have a candidate that we like in one of these smaller cities where we can volunteer some resources one weekend to go knock on doors or participate or what have you.
Yeah, even I'm tempted to do New Bern, but I think I'm not going to be here forever, so it would be a waste. So I don't want to do something like that. I feel like you need to have a sense of
But maybe
purpose.
there's a candidate who's running in New Bern that, we'd be worth supporting and getting some influence
Maybe,
that way.
maybe we'll see about that.
Right, right. You
And
won't
those
know
people are
until.
all approachable anyway. We could definitely all have influence with them regardless of whatever affiliation. And
In Raleigh, we invited every candidate for the city council to take the world's smallest political quiz, and most of them did.
cool, nice. I know there was someone on the state Facebook that had reached out, like, do you guys help with candidate campaigns, even if I'm not a libertarian? And I did talk to her, and I gave her a date that we could get together and talk, and didn't hear back from her. So I don't know what happened to her. I guess I can look back at the account, see, follow back up.
All right, well, Angela, our last piece of advice to you is you should go buy a lottery ticket because you literally entered just as we were about to leave the Zoom room. So your
Lucky
timing
me.
is incredible. And while you're hot, you really should take advantage.
I don't gamble, but thank you guys for having me. Sorry if I ate up any of your free time. Enjoy your Sunday.
All
All
right.
right,
Thank you.
Take
take care,
care.
guys. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.